So we've talked about the different metric and imperial measurements that we have for length. What we're going to do now is just look at some approximate conversions. If you just notice the sign for approximation, it's just like a curly, two curly signs as opposed to an equal sign. And the key thing for converting, okay, between metric and imperial or imperial into metric is always keep working on what one is. Okay, that's quite important. Even though if you just look at this first conversion, the common conversion to say for kilometres into miles is 8 kilometres is approximately 5 miles. So if you think about it, 1 kilometre would equal 5/8 of a mile. Why? If I divide that by 8, I get 1 kilometre, so I must divide that by 8 to get the conversion. So it's 5/8 of a mile. If I went the other way, I'd have 1 mile is 8/5 of a kilometre. So I'm dividing that by 5 to get what 1 mile is. And I need to divide that by 5, so that's 8/5 of a kilometre. If you just look at the other conversions, 1 metre is approximately 40 inches, 1 inch is approximately 2.5 centimetres, and 1 foot is approximately 30 centimetres. So that gives you a rough idea of the conversions between metric and imperial. Can I say, because these are approximate, okay, if you were doing a question, the key thing is to look at what the actual approximate conversion is that you've been given, and then always work on trying to work out what one is. Okay, so if we look at this question here, I'm going to convert 20 miles into kilometres. Now there's two ways of doing this. If you think about it, if 5 miles is 8 kilometres, and I'm trying to find what 20 miles is, look at the connection between 5 and 20. It is 4 times bigger. So literally, if I times that by 4, I'd end up with 32 kilometres. So I know that 20 miles is equivalent to 32 kilometres. That's not a bad way of doing it if you can see the connection between two numbers like this. It goes in quite nicely. It's 4 times bigger. If I go back and use this conversion though, you just look, 1 mile is 8/5 of a kilometre. So what do I want to do? I want to find 8/5 of 20. Okay, and why do I want to find 8/5 of 20 miles? Is I know that 1 mile is 8/5 of a kilometre. Okay, I'm going for 20 miles. So I want to find the 8/5 of that 20. Okay, so what do? I do 20 divided by 5, which is 4. 4 times the 8, which makes the 32. And I've got the same answer whichever way I went about doing it. Okay, let's look at our second one. 2.4 kilometres into miles. So I know that 1 kilometre is 5/8 of a mile. How many kilometres have I got? I've got 2.4 of them. So what am I going to do? I'm going to take this 2.4 and this time I'm going to times it by 5/8 and that will convert that into miles. Remember how we find a fraction of a quantity? You divide by the denominator because you're seeing an 1/8 of 2.4 and then I'm timesing by 5 because I've got 5/8 of them. Okay, so how many 8s go into 2.4? That comes to 0.3. I do 0.3 times 5, which comes to 1.5 miles. So 2.4 kilometres is 1.5 miles. Okay, let's look at this next one. A lot of people, ironically, still know their height, okay, in feet and inches. But if you just look, we can do a nice little conversion now because we know that 1 foot is approximately 30 centimetres. So I want to try and find 6 feet. So I know that 1 foot is equivalent to 30. So what I'm going to do is want to know what 1 is, times it by the 6. So I do 6 times 30 and we end up with 180 centimetres. So if you look at this next one, I'm going to convert 8 inches into centimetres. I know that 1 inch is 2.5 centimetres. Remember, the key thing is to know what 1 is. Okay, so 8 inches would be 8 times the 2.5. That gives me a grand total of 20 centimetres. So 8 inches is equivalent to 20 centimetres. And finally, I've got 180 inches into metres. Now just think about it. We know that 40 inches is 1 metre. Because I'm converting 180 inches, I really want to know what 1 inch is. Then I can times it by 180. So how do I know what 1 inch is? Think about it. What would I divide 40 by to get 1 inch? I would divide it by 40. That would make 1 inch. So I want to divide that 1 metre by 40. So it will be 1/40th. So what am I really doing here is I'm finding 1/40th of 180, and that will then convert it into metres. So I'm looking at how many 40s go into 180, and that goes exactly exactly 4.5 metres. So what you should now do is feel very, very comfortable of being able to convert using these approximate conversions. Okay, that's using length. What we're now going to do is going to have a look at weight and capacity.